evening. My name is Mohit. Before we begin our presentation, we would like to ask you a question. How would you like to have your tea? Now, this is a very rhetorical question because we all like to have a tea in a very different way, right? Coming down to that, introducing the Mumbai's favorite energy drink, the cutting chai. The cutting chai is a very legendary drink. It has evolved over the years. So let's say you go to a local chai wala and you order your tea for the first time. You customize it. You tell him adrak kam dalna, chini kam dalna. You customize it. You do it for the first time. Then you do it another time. Then you visit him the third time. And when you come to the tea vendor for the fourth time, he already knows what you want. He knows what is the kind of tea that you like and he serves it to you that way. Now this particular approach that is adopted by a tea vendor is called a customer-centric approach. What is a customer-centric approach? Customer-centric approach is where you keep your consumer insights right at the center and you align your entire business ecosystem around the customer. Now when we are saying the ecosystem, we're talking about the customer support and service. We're talking about distribution and procurement. We're talking about product selling and experience. We're talking about sales. We're talking about marketing tools and tactics. We're talking about business investments in those directions where we feel that the consumer insights are valuable and we may be able to fill the consumer and the brand gap. Now, introducing the digital age. This age is particularly very dangerous. We all fear this digital age because there is a very important reason. There is an information overload. The information is at such connectivity and such high velocities, varieties, and volumes that the digital age can be very dangerous. It has the potential to destroy a brand or to make a brand completely. Our ancestors, when they did like a product or a service, they used to just go and speak about it to 10 people, or 20 people, or 30 people, let's say maximum. But if they liked it, they did it in a similar fashion. But right now, a consumer has the power to destroy a brand. The pendulum is slowly shifting towards direction where the consumers have the power to make or break the brand through digital media. To throw some fun facts, we have who talk about some fun facts and figures.
Good evening, everyone. Like we've seen, the digital age is just loading. Some of us might think it's already there, it's reaching saturation. Some of us might wonder where we are, but actually nobody can point the finger at it because it's evolving and developing as we speak, and it's how we collaborate and co-create that we'll end up with consumer centrism. Something, whenever we talk about India-centric, internet penetration in India is about 19%. The difference from 150 million to 230 million, which is about a rise of 53% last year. 80% of users, urban users, are accessing the internet through their mobile phone. 60% teens view 125 messages every day. They read 125 messages every day. Why are we talking about the digital age? Because it's a term that was coined in the US where people who are now just about touching 40 grew up with the internet or access to the internet or the computer, where our kids or kids I know, our nephew, nieces, they learn how to operate a phone, unlock a phone at the age of 2 and 3. And they pretty much know more about it than we do. So these kind of customers are different and we need to address them differently. For example, the 42%, a fun fact was 42% of Indians search in their local language. So we need to ensure that the internet is giving them the option to search in the language that they are comfortable with. Do we give our customers the option to be comfortable and interact with us in their local language? Something that comes up, why we're talking about the internet right now, we're talking about the digital age. There are different ages that define different customers. Right now we're talking about the digital age, and because everything's internet, only with 19% of internet penetration in India, we're number 2 in terms of Facebook and number 1 in terms of WhatsApp. And both of these guys are valued more than most nations. So there's something that's coming out of it, which is called the Internet of Things. It's coming out of the consumer-centric perspective that we're talking about today. What does that mean? It means anything, any device, anyone, anybody. That means me and you, we can connect right now with whatever data we have, any service, any business, any path, any network, any place, anywhere, anytime, any connect, all of it. What do we mean by this? Your refrigerator, when you go back home and you take something out, will tell you what it's missing. If you're going down in rations on some particular groceries, they'll tell you to stock up. The hospital industry or healthcare industry, I would say, is looking at this in a big way. If you're going to your doctor's going to know your past medical history, when you last came, with the iWatch is something which is the start of the Internet of Things. It's going to track your blood pressure. They're going to know much more than we did. When you're going into your office, your computer will start off. And they're off pushing or bringing up so many things that we can't even imagine. But of course, when we're talking about the Internet of Things and all these things that are developing, including customer centrism, it's a newer, or it's in its nascent stages. And we need to concentrate on certain things and certain challenges that we face. Everything is a challenge when you are trying to shift the mindset. The first one is inertia. We've heard horror stories of people trying to change the attitude of people who are working. So imagine changing your entire paradigm of doing business from the product-centric to customer-centric. Money you need to invest heavily to know what the customer wants, continuously keep changing, adapting, which we don't go for economies of scale, but making the customer more happy. Uncertainty, like Steve Jobs just said, by the time it's rolled out, it's gone. So there's a huge amount of uncertainty. You need to calculate the risks. Consistency, you can't just say do it once, because the velocity with which data is coming in, people out there, the 14%, when there's a consumer adoption process, there's people are telling you, the 14% who are the early adopters are telling you what they want, and it's huge, and the velocity is coming at a high rate. So you have to consistently keep upgrading yourselves. So eventually every business is for profit, the pot of gold in the end. First mover advantage, which leads you to a lot of brand equity. Loyalty, of course, because these guys are invested in you. The customers today, when they interact, when you give them a platform, they're going to get to know about your product from somewhere or the other. You give them a platform, it's better. So they start there's some loyalty in it, and they create the awareness when they are happy about it. So today's customers, today's teenagers, today's customers believe and trust other people more and reviews more than whatever you say. And of course, business sustainability through all of them.
With all this having said, the entire approach that has to be changed, or the outlook that we have towards brand, needs to change. And that is from making people want things to making things people want. Aligning your processes, your resources, and your systems in such a way that it is directed towards a customer-centric approach. It's about from selecting hearing, switching to active listening. It's about not analyzing market analytics and user data and data sets, where we are trying to analyze all these passive data inside our executive rooms. But the need here is to create customer focus groups that we can believe in. The executives sit in a boardroom, interact with these customer focus groups, and then do an active listening process. And with these valuable insights, create products or services for the future. Now, with this, we want to share some examples where certain brands have already put this into practice. We are sharing an example of Gillette Guard, which was launched in India. Now, the product was being customized for a more European market. So when they launched in India, they realized that the Gillette Guard was not actually working out. Now, when the research was conducted, they realized that within the rural interior parts of India, there is a lack of electricity, there is lack of water supply. Indians are more hairy, of course. Now, because of these very insights, the entire product had to be recreated or tweaked in such a manner so that these products can be used by the rural consumers. Now, when Gillette launched its new product, which was the Gillette Guard, it worked out very successfully, and this is how, with a customer-centric approach, Gillette was able to transform its brand. Similarly, D2H is also a very interesting, evolving example in India and in abroad, where a user is able to decide to what kind of content does he wants to subscribe to. So if I'm a spiritual or a sports or whatever kind of a viewer am I can choose my content, and I only pay for the content that I would want to. Netflix is also a very interesting example of how internet is evolving and internet TV is evolving in abroad.
Okay, so we just saw some examples how consumer centrism gets into place. Initially I think started with customer satisfaction, stuff like that. The Internet of Things is something that we're talking about. So an offshoot to that is omni-retailing. Where you're retailing in all the spaces that the customer is available. We'll get into a short video which shows you something of that sort. Can you go to the next slide, please? So this is an example of what we're talking about. What we're talking about, how we're trying to be customer-centric. This is my personal email inbox. That is me. Hi, Dhruva. That's my name. I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself because I didn't want to break the flow. I bought a garden hose to wash my bike. So these guys got back to me, mailed me, interestingly yesterday, and asked me to give a feedback. And they have wish lists where I can say what I want, and when it reaches a certain target where a lot of people want those particular things, they can go ahead and give it at a discount. So this is what we're talking about. We're talking about how the big companies are doing it. Everybody is going online, and either you're in it or you're out of it. We're just going to show you a small video, which will probably encapsulate everything that we've just said here.
Meet Kimi. She's a child of the 90s, so she's a digital native. Sure, she still does lots of things the way her parents did, but what's really important about her is how she's different from the previous generation. Here's an example. Kimi's planning a dinner party, but not just any dinner party. She's throwing a tweet-worthy feast for all her friends that will make her the queen of her social circle. Oh, and one more thing. It's the year 2020. So Kimi's a different kind of consumer with different demands. Since her whole life's been shaped by digital, she has a different relationship to retail than her parents. Sure, she's using the same channels her parents used, but how she uses them is totally different. That means attracting her with today's retail strategies isn't going to work in 2020. And just to be clear, there are cajillions of Kimis out there, getting ready to flood your retail channels, or flood someone else's. And whether or not you can attract these Gen 2020s depends on the decisions you make right now. Understanding how to attract consumers like Kimi will be crucial for retailers over the next decade. That's why the Coca-Cola Retailing Research Council, Kantar, and TNS conducted their latest research. And the results of that research are clear. Provide better basics, embrace hyper-convenience, offer consumers an experience, and do all of these things digitally as well as in your physical channels. Remember Kimi's dinner party? Well, the first thing she needs to do is make a list of what she needs. And since digital devices will have proliferated so much by then, she'll be ready to engage either digitally or in person, which means you've got to be ready. No matter how she decides to engage, you've got to be prepared to do a better job of providing the basics. Things like selection and shopping environment will influence her decision in person, and browsing speed and security will make or break a digital transaction. In both cases, a better basic experience is the first step in attracting Gen 2020. And once Kimi is interested, you've got two ways to win her heart. Either make shopping easier for her, both physically and digitally, or make it an engaging experience. Or both. To successfully engage Gen 2020, you've got to make things hyper-convenient and meaningful. Just displaying your wares won't work anymore. Kimi wants an experience when she goes shopping. And your work isn't done when the transaction's complete. Kimi's a social being. She shares her experience with other Gen 2020s. And her recommendation starts the cycle over again for one of her friends. Retail success in 2020 depends upon nurturing a relationship with customers, so you're already at their fingertips the next time they need you. Kimi's dinner party is a success. She found a retailer that delivered better basics, her transaction was easy as pie, and she had a great experience she shared with her social circle. Attracting customers like Kimi in the future will be hard work, but by monitoring the evolution of the consumers in your locale, you'll be ready to offer Gen 2020 the retail relationship they'll demand. Find out how to monitor these insights at ccrrc.org.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for watching the video. This video kind of encapsulates what we wanted to say in this entire presentation. Now we understand that many people in the panel might be early adopters of this particular customer-centric approach. They must have already implemented something like this in their organization, or some of you might will. But the whole objective of this presentation was to tell you that though digital and the customer-centric approach is at a very nascent stage in India, but we believe that genuinely this is the future ahead. Thank you.